Hey everyone, I am TheChosenOneLegend here, as always joined by my co-host.
I am Kyle, also known as Fascurreyn.
And welcome back to the BunchaJokahs podcast, where we talk Nintendo news and other gaming tidbits from the past month. And we've had like 3 or 4 presentations. There's actually been stuff happening. It's... I mean, literally one within like an hour ago. We literally just got off the Pokemon Presents and we're going straight onto this, so it's been busy.
Yeah, it's been a good time. We've had some stuff there. Even though if we don't follow Pokemon massively, there's big news is always good. So yeah, lots of stuff.
Absolutely, because the thing is, although there's still it feels like there's so much gaming news coming out, I still have not had a new game to play yet this year, and I won't do until April. So at the same time, it's all backlog season, baby. But of course we'll get to that. We have timestamps in the description below if you want to check out the different sections of the podcast. But let's just get things started with the first segment, Can't Have a Podcast Without News, baby, where we go over the said news highlights. And starting it off with Direct number 1. We had a partners showcase at the start of the month, which, I mean, we did a reaction to, so if you want to go check out our immediate thoughts, you can there. But I think the general impression was, it was okay.
Yeah.
There wasn't really anything huge. Adventures of Elliot getting a release date, that's neat. I'm really excited for that game, but I kind of already saw everything I needed to already, so I don't really need more gameplay of that one. We've got things like the Hollow Knight update we knew about. They ended on Bethesda, and everyone just groaned in sync.
Yeah.
It's funny watching reactions and going back to that bit.
It's just Fallout, which is another game that's just really, really old. And again, personally, that's one that I see almost daily being played on the PlayStation here. So I'm just kind of sick of it at this point. So not the best ending, but I'm sure they saw it as a big thing. I love Skyrim, but not the same for Fallout.
It's just because when we were building up to it, we were discussing is it worth recording the reaction for? And I was like, well, there's a lot of things they could announce here. We got Danganronpa 2x2, Layton. No, none of those. Didn't hear anything.
Mm.
I mean, maybe they're saving those for their own thing or for a bigger direct. But there's third party stuff you could do to make it hype, and they kind of was nothing in there was bad. In fact, there were some interesting smaller things. Paranorm site looked pretty good and whatnot. It just lacked that that hook, that kind of big thing to sort of kick it off or to end it. But it was fine.
I think that's a pretty good way of putting it. There was not a whole lot there of interest. Captain Tsubasa does not interest me, believe it or not. And yeah, other things were just Hollow Knight update, Adventures of Elliot show. Rebirth, God, Jesus.
Yeah,
fair play to them from a hardware standpoint.
It's a good one to have. It's just they've been talking for so long about we're going to release the others on the Switch too, so we knew it was coming. So it was cool to see, but it wasn't a big reveal that it would have been had Remake not already been on the Switch,
Yeah, exactly. And then the other big one to end on of Resident Evil Requiem is just there's a big audience for it, so I get why, but it's just kind of really Resident Evil again. It just feels, I don't know. Yeah. Personally, it feels like it's showing up just all the time, and it's always the same.
No, you're right. I'm pretty sure we ended the last partner showcase with that, and whilst it's a good get, it looks good. I think it's out today even, and by all account, reviews are the Switch 2 version is very good. So it's cool, but it wasn't a reveal. So.
No.
You tend to end the direct on a reveal, or at least a huge Nintendo hitter like a Zelda or whatever. So it was just kind of a mediocre direct, but I guess I'm more surprised it wasn't a big one, because like I've been saying the past few months even, we don't know a lot of the big Nintendo games coming up. outside, like, what's left now? Pocopia and...
In terms of large
Tomodachi
IPs, you mean, right? Like, in terms, because we
Yeah.
could say all of Rhythm Heaven, but that's not a big one.
But even then, we don't have a
in terms
release
of
date
IP.
for that.
No, that's
So-
true. But yeah, in terms of those main series, we've got a new Fire Emblem coming up, but there's always a new
Yeah.
Fire Emblem coming up. I'd be more surprised if we didn't. And Mario Wonder's going to get that update soon. But, like, is that it in terms of mainline stuff to look forward to? I don't know what the latest has been on the other big series.
Yeah, so pretty much as soon as we get past Tomodachi Life, we don't really... We have, again, like you say, we have a few games coming up, but we don't have release dates for them. And then there's a load of that are just lacking, so it's... I'm surprised that they didn't do a direct like they usually do in February, because it feels like they should have stuff to announce or to give more info on at this point. But
Yeah.
I'd imagine we'll probably get something in March. Like, at this point, I don't think they can't wait till like June to do another direct at this point. I don't think they have enough games to keep them going. Unless, then again, they
Yeah.
could just randomly shadow drop things on Twitter. They've done that before, so who knows?
Yeah, and they've also had these periods before where, like, they'll not really have anything out or announced, so they'll just promote the most random thing. We saw it with Xenoblade X when it came out, and we'll get to the update, I'm sure. But, like, back when that came out, there was no other games coming out around that time, so Xenoblade X got a random, like, disproportionately high amount of focus and promotion, which I found really funny. And yeah, I think this one didn't end great because, like I say, Requiem was already expected. The Grace and Leon amiibos are kind of insane. I wasn't
They look
expecting
so
that one, to be
dodgy.
fair. Yeah, they are like first gen amiibo.
Yeah.
And then Fallout 4 doesn't really work because, like, Skyrim was literally a launch game for the Switch, or like close to it. It came out in the first year. It was one of their main ones. You already had a big Bethesda game on the Switch. Bringing another big Bethesda game doesn't really do a whole lot. And then you're like, oh, Indiana Jones as well, and Oblivion Remastered. Loki, I don't think was very good in the end.
And Indiana Jones looks great, but I probably wouldn't get it on the Switch too. So. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I understand why they ended with that as well, because they're like, oh, these are the biggest games of the last decade, but like, not even the last decade at this point. They're old, man. Do it with Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring, and maybe you'd have an audience to end it on that.
Exactly. We'll have to see what they're cooking, but I suppose in the meantime, let's go to the next direct here, our Sony State of Play, which, to be fair, was actually better than the Nintendo one. It took a partner showcase for them to achieve that, but there you go. We got a slightly superior State of Play. Did you watch this at all, Guy? Actually, I should ask that one first.
I'm actually pulling it up to try and remember because I'll be honest, I do not remember watching it, but I feel like I did.
There are some,
which maybe isn't a good testament.
I mean, it might be just that we're not the right audience as usual. It wasn't badly paced. There was, a new John Wick game. Kena Bridge of Spirits got a second game.
I did
God
watch
of War's
it, yeah.
getting
You reminded
remakes.
me.
Probably the coolest thing, I think, is a new Castlevania game, Belmont's Curse, and like, this is our first brand new Castlevania in like over a decade or something, and that's sick. Like, getting the return of that, it's been building up like fans and that with like the with like keeping doing remasters or ports of older games, and the Netflix series have of course been fantastic. So I'm optimistic for like a new Castlevania game in this age. It looks good, but that's probably the only real highlight for me.
Yeah, I do remember watching it now because someone, it might have been you, I can't even remember. Someone asked, like, has anything good been announced so far? And I was like, the Castlevania game looks pretty good, and that's the only one up to that point. But yeah, no, I remember the Castlevania one. That does look very good, actually. Something to keep an eye on going forward because, I don't know, it's just impressive. It's one of those series it's good to keep rolling. So, looks good.
Yeah. It's nice to see it back. That's definitely one I'll maybe keep an eye on, see what more previews look like. But I might end up getting that one at launch. So that one's cool. And other things like, I know Kena Bridge of Spirits was like a big deal when the PS5 launched, but I feel like people hyped it up a lot and then kind of didn't say much about it afterwards. So I don't know if there's much hype behind the sequel, but visually it looks beautiful. So that's something.
Yeah, that's true. And I do think the Castlevania one's going to be a very interesting one to watch, specifically because there's a lot of like that's I've identified things in the past like tropes that loads of developers try and copy, like, oh, everyone suddenly tried open world, everyone suddenly tried an Earthbound like, and I feel like not to the same degree, but lots of people are trying to make these side scroll 2D battlers that are exploring places. There's a lot of those on Steam if you dig into them. Those Metroidvanias are very popular. So having to be a Castlevania game, who led that genre to try and keep up, I'm very curious. But it looks like they have. It looks like they have to me.
Yeah. It's weird because, like, again, Metroid and Castlevania are sort of the pioneers for this genre, and then they both disappeared off the face of the map for a while, so, like, the indies took over with games like Hollow Knight and Ori and whatnot. But, seeing this now, Metroid came back with Dread, and that was fantastic, so hopefully this is the same. We'll keep an eye on it anyway, definitely for future releases. But, State of Play looks not bad. It was solid, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess one thing, this is just a small bit of news, but for those Sonic fans out there, Sonic 4, we got our casting. Kristen Bell is going to be playing Amy, who, of course, I think we can safely say at this point, if you're watching this, you've probably seen the movie already. She was revealed at the end tease of the last one. It's kind of one of those, like, the same as, like, Brie Larson as Rosalina. You hear it and you're like, yeah, that works. It's not as crazy as, like, Chris Pratt as Mario, or as, like, immediately perfect as, like, Keanu Reeves' Shadow, but you hear it and it's like, that fits.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Of course, watching the last couple in cinema and all of that, it's actually kind of hype. Like, even though I don't really care about Sonic all that much, it's just the movies are good.
They have been they've gradually got better. The first one was fine, but was very much your generic sort of CGI creature movie. But then they kept upping it up. Yeah, it really was. But they kept increasing, like, the sonicness of it for each future film. It will be interesting to see how 4 plays out, because I know 3, obviously, Sonic Adventure 2 is probably, like, the fan favourite Sonic game. It quite possibly might be, so I don't know if 4 will have the same level of hype behind it, tackling this sort of Amy and Metal Sonic as it would, like, tackling Shadow. But at this point, they've earned trust, and that goes a long way. So.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it's going to be like Shadow was their trump card. Like, that was always going to be the case. Like, you stick, live, and learn on that screen, and everyone's going to go wild. But they probably can't do it more than once. But no, I mean, there's so much more source material to draw from, which they're clearly using. So it seems like they're just going to keep veering more in that direction. And look, do we know when it's coming out? We have a release date or no?
I think it's 2027. Let me check that Sonic 4 release date, because I know we have at the very least a rough release window.
19th of March. There you go.
Oh yeah, it is March. Yeah, 2027. So we're about a year off.
A year from now. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll definitely be seeing that and talking about it here when it comes out, or when we get a trailer, which probably will be in a few months' time. First one, but that looks pretty good. Now, of course, we are mostly known for being a Xenoblade podcast. I mean, maybe Danganronpa these days, but Xenoblade's in there. So we've got a call back whenever there's big news about that. And out of nowhere, Xenoblade X got a Switch 2 edition for a $5, or just under in the UK, that adds 4K support. There's some, like, increased textures, 60 FPS around the board. It's interesting because it's been quite controversial on the quality of the patch, where a lot of people have been picking it apart and saying, like, there's problems to do with the upscaling used for it, where, like, characters are blurry and that. I'm terrible at this. I played it and I thought it looks fine, but I don't know if people are being picky or if I'm just bad at this. I can't tell.
No, I'm the same as you. I don't have an eye for that finer detail on resolution and stuff, so I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know. From a personal perspective, it's like, I've 100%ed Xenoblade X. I have absolutely zero intention of doing it again, ever. So I'm not really interested in a slight graphical update. I think the game looks fine as is, so good for people who haven't played it, but otherwise, I feel like most people who wanted to play Xenoblade X probably have at this point, so it's just kind of whatever to me.
it was very much I saw this and I'm like, Nintendo, that's the wrong Xenoblade game. That's not the one I wanted you to
Yeah,
patch.
you wanted two so bad.
So bad. I mean, there's like loads of rumors about that it might be happening, or even some talk of like a Xenoblade 2 Definitive Edition, which, hey, you know, I'm not sure it needs it, but I'll take it, because I would be replaying the game right now if I didn't think that an update was coming. So it's the same thing I was on with like Skyward Sword for years, where I wanted to replay it, but I was like, they are going to do a HD version of this. I just need to hold off. But so I think we will be getting, if not in a special edition, we'll be getting like a patch for Xenoblade 2 at some point. I feel like it's coming. But no, I agree with you. This one, I brought it just because it's anything under a $5 is in that range where I can impulse buy. You know, I'm a cheapskate. A game for like £7 won't break my bank, but I'll be sitting about that for like 10 days. Like, should I buy this? Should I not?
Yeah,
when it goes under a $5 though, I can impulse buy. So I did for this, and I checked it out for a bit, and hey, it looks pretty good. You know, I think it runs very nice in 60 FPS. You can tell the difference. I really think, although you can probably argue, I don't think people are wrong about the problems. I'm sure they're right, and I think when you're paying £5 for it, you should expect better. But also, I think people are exaggerating by like putting 2 frames side by side and zooming in 500% and saying this is a problem. It's like, if you're playing the game, you're not gonna notice that shit. It's not as bad as people are saying, at the very least. So it's fine, and if you're getting it new, I think it's worth buying. But if you're not, is it really worth returning to? No.
No, and most of the time when you're playing the game, like, you've just got tons of numbers that are like flashing on the screen all the time because of how many like multi-hit moves there are and explosions that go up in your face. Like, you know, I feel like they should be testing it under those conditions rather than having both be perfectly still and then zooming in.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, I think Xenoblade X was the one that needed this the least. Like, I get it was the most recent one, but I think X looked pretty good on the Switch, like even Switch 1. Whereas you look at 2 and the resolution drops, especially in handheld, you know. 3's kind of in the middle somewhere. It runs a lot better than 2 does, but it still could use some buffs. But again, we'll probably get those down the line, just out of nowhere on Twitter, because that's what Nintendo do these days.
Yeah.
Looking out for our final section now. We're getting there, but it's a big one. Oops, all Pokemon. Because, hey, 30th anniversary. We probably won't spend as long as some others would on this, because as you've learned from previous ones, neither of us are really deep in Pokemon at this point. But there's definitely some bits worth talking about either way. First of all, they accidentally leaked it and then decided to drop it.
Yeah.
Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green are getting Switch 2 ports, just straight up the original games playable on Switch 2, $20 each. Yeah.
I've seen people
Pokemon,
saying this is a test, and I've not read into why, but I guess it's like, will people spend 20 quid on this game that's very old and easy to emulate or something?
Oh, they will. And here's the thing,
guess that's
like,
the test.
this has made me like, just like, I mean, looking on like social media, on game discourse, it's always terrible. For Pokemon, it's always extra terrible. But it's really been like a mix between people on both sides being completely idiotic in this case, of some people being like, how dare you insult Pokemon, saying that you think £20 is too much for a game, when you have collections of like 6 Game Boy Mega Man games for half the price with bonus features, and this is just the game. Like, no, this is overpriced, this is silly. But at the same time, you have people going like, if you buy this, you're an idiot. It's like, no, if it's worth it, you buy it. I don't care. That's
the thing. Everyone finds their own value. Like, clearly some people are willing to do it because they want this, you know, original game on the Switch, and some people don't want to buy it. Like, it doesn't really matter what the price is in the end. The market figures itself out. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's like, not that big of a thing to stress about.
Is this greedy of them to charge £20 for this? Absolutely. They're doing it because they can and because it's Pokemon, and Pokemon are, you know, one of the greediest groups out there. But at the same time, like, I'm not into Pokemon that much, but if this was a game I was really into, I would drop £20 for it just to play the game again if it was like really good and it was the best way to be able to play it without having to emulate, because that can be a hassle. Like, yeah, it would still be worth it to me, even if it is overpriced. You know, it can be two things. It can be overpriced, but still worth it for you as an individual. So, whatever. It's neat that they're existing, at least, you know. It's neat that people have more ways to play it, at the very least, even if I'm not interested myself.
Yeah, I think the Pokemon Presents itself had more interesting things about it, which is also good.
Exactly. So let's get to that Pokemon Presents then, which just dropped now. I guess before we get to the
Pokemon Sleep update. Oh my god.
We did get Pokemon. To be fair, I'm a terrible sleeper. If this game would help, maybe I should play Pokemon Sleep, you know? Maybe it'll help me.
It might come in use, actually, yeah. You can start learning from it.
The soothing sounds of, I don't know, Dugtrio or something. I don't know why that was the first Pokemon that came to mind. I don't know many Pokemon. But, I guess sort of the smaller ones, I'll run off all of these and you can let me know if there are any highlights. We sort of got a little Game Boy music player of the Game Boy games, like, that's kind of cool. Pokemon XD come to NSO this March. A bunch of DLC for ZA that I thought had already been announced. DJ Rotom and more come into Pokopia. And that's kind of the run-off of the small bits I took note of. Is there anything you want to mention from those, Kai, or something else?
Well, the big one there, and I think this is on par with the Fire Red Leaf Green announcement, is Gale of Darkness. That is, like, again, this is from my perspective of having played some Pokemon games but not being into it anymore. Gale of Darkness is probably the one game where I'm like, yeah, if I try and get back into the series, that's the one I'd play. Because it does very different things, it's double battle based, and it's kind of a unique story system and stuff like that. It's a very, very good game, and that's just out on Nintendo Switch Online, right? Like, there's no cost, extra cost to that. It's just you have the big version of the Switch package, and you're done.
Yeah.
That is a really big deal, I think, because that's a super cool game.
No, I definitely, like, having not played a lot of them, but I've watched, like, Chugga play them over the years, and these were the ones I thought looked the most interesting, to be honest with you. So, I might give these a go. It's kind of weird they mentioned XD, but not Colosseum? Is XD coming out before Colosseum? Even though Colosseum's
I have no idea, yeah, because Colosseum hasn't actually come out despite being announced. I don't know why that is.
It's been announced, and I thought they'd say, like, XD Gale Darkness is coming out in March, and Colosseum's dropping today or something like that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It's weird, but, I mean, I don't think they're that connected where you could play them in either order, probably. Like, I don't think it matters that much. But it is weird.
No, yeah, it's weird. It's, like I say, that's a very, very good one, and of course that'll be free for anyone who already has Nintendo Switch Online, so, that's kind of the biggest one in there. I don't really know a whole lot about Pokemon Champions or whatever the League of Legends game is. ZA, again, I have zero interest in ZA. So and Pokopia looks like it could be good. Again, that's kind of one of those things, if you like it, you like it. And I do see the potential in there, although I can't see myself picking it up, but it does look pretty good, to be honest. So, only a matter of time, but it's a good sign so far. You know, you've got your online and stuff, so. Yeah,
you know, as usual, we had to skip through a lot of build-up and slow stuff. That's how these... We expect these at these Pokemon Presents, but there were some good-looking games in there, you know. It wasn't bad. And then the ending, of course, is what... They knew they could make us sit through the other stuff, because we were all waiting for the final bit that was coming. They know how to operate these. Pokemon Gen 10, isn't it, now? Jeez.
Yes.
Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. Got our first look at. A bit of gameplay. We got our new starters. What do you think, Kai? What are your thoughts on the... Having just watched it like an hour ago.
Yeah, off the bat, I'm kind of... maybe this is just me. I'm kind of surprised they didn't make Gen 10 something specific to, like, encapsulate all the regions up to this point, you know what I mean? Like, a crazy comparison I'm going to make here, but the Fortnite Season 10, for the first Season 1, you know there's, like, different versions, but the original Season 10 was, if I remember, they had, like, each week of the game was a different season leading up to the end of it. So it was this big celebration, and I thought Pokemon were going to do the same thing, where it's like, okay, it's the Big Ten. This is a huge deal. This is the most important one since like Gen 5 in terms of anniversaries. Surely they're going to do something that encapsulates everything. But no, it just seems to be a completely original game, which is still fine. I just didn't expect it. So we've seen this big new game. We've seen the improved graphics, which don't look too massively different to Gen 9. They don't. I mean, the environments look way better. I'll start there, actually.
Yeah.
The models of the Pokemon themselves look similar, but they weren't really the weak point. It was the environments that looked bad.
It is also a year out, so...
Yeah, that's also true, so they're still probably developing it. But the environments do look better, so graphically, that's nice. What we did hear of the music seemed good. The environments look potentially interesting. I'm not sure entirely what it's based on yet. I've seen people say it's like Polynesian. My first thought was I thought Gongaga, because of the rainforest, and then I was like, well, maybe is it meant to be based on like South America, specifically around the Amazon rainforest, and then the ocean leading out from that, because you have these tropical vibes. For reference, like previous gens, if you weren't aware, gens 1 to 4 are Japan, and then after that you get America, France, Hawaii, England, Spain, and then you've now got this. So it's like South America would make sense, as long as they don't make it, clash too much with the Latin origins of the last gen. So it's interesting. It looks like, they really have gone for this open world design again. To what extent we'll see, but it does look like they're making this fully open world. In a way, it did actually remind me a little bit of Xenoblade X in places, especially like the underground fire place, like the random dungeon there. I was like, yeah, okay, they're really trying this again. So I think we'll have to see more gameplay, to be honest, before we can make an astute judgment.
Yeah, it's promising. It's definitely I think just the fact that it is releasing in 2027, and it seems it's a Switch 2 exclusive as well, which is kind of nice that they're not holding it back for the Switch 1, because they often, I think Black and White 2 released, after the 3DS had released and all that, and Pokemon often do that. They often hold back before going on to the new hardware. So it's cool that we're getting one relatively sooner in the Switch 2's lifespan this year, but it also doesn't feel like they're rushing it. I mean, I'd imagine it might be early 2027 or something, but it's what we see looks promising. Again, like you're saying, the vibes and the music and all that looked nice. I'm not really a Pokemon guy, so I'm not the right person to comment on all of this stuff, but I don't see much to criticize at this point, which is a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I mean, do you? I have mixed feelings about the starters that they showed off, because they all kind of. I mean, when you've got over 1,000 Pokemon right now, they're going to run out of ideas. But we've literally had a Grass-type Owl starter not long ago, back in Gen 7. You had Rowlet, and now we've got Brout, who's just there's obviously differences, different type of bird and all that. This one seems slightly different, but I don't know. They kind of look samey. Even people are like, oh my god, I love Pombon, the dog, the fire dog. And it was like, this is like the 7th fire dog we've gotten. I'm not complaining about dog Pokemon, but damn, we've got so many.
Looking at the water type as well, if you told me, as someone who's not a Pokemon guy, if you told me that was the pre-evolution of Greninja, I'd believe you. It doesn't look like it's going too far out of done types. So I guess there's only so much you can do at this point. They look cute, and I guess that's enough. None of them stick out as to me as oh, that's a sick design. But I wouldn't say any of them look really bad either. So
no, they're not bad. I think they're slightly uninspired to me, maybe, because it's we've got the Rowlet knockoff, the Growlithe knockoff, and then Gekka is a mix of Sobble and Froakie. It's I mean, again, obviously they're all going to have these similar running themes, and there's over 1,000 Pokemon, but last gen seems pretty good. The last couples feel like they've had really good ideas. I really liked Gen 8's starters, having the Fire Bunny, and then Sobble and all of that, and then Rillaboom especially was really cool. Like, I don't know, this feels less inspired than what they've done previously. Even Gen 9 starters were really good.
Yeah,
So
it'll be
I'm
interesting.
not as much of a fan.
It'll be interesting to see, of course, what they evolve into.
Yes, yeah, that might make a
final
difference.
forms and all that. But yeah, it looks fine. But yeah, nothing blew me away in that regards. And I guess we didn't really see any other new Pokemon or that, as far as I can tell. I mean, maybe there were some small ones in the collections, but I mostly recognised familiar ones. The only thing I did wonder is, at the end, when they specifically like dive down into the ocean, I'm wondering if there's some sort of underwater exploration part in this game. I know they've done that before in Pokemon.
Yeah. It's good to point that out. When you look in the underwater scenes, it looks like there's footpaths. There's going to be an underwater walking section. I don't think it's going to be free roam swimming.
No, because I know like dive has been like a move before in Pokemon games, but as far as I'm aware, that isn't been the thing in the 3D one so much, has it? So I might be wrong. I haven't really played them.
No, I think you're right. I don't remember dive being a thing since like Gen 5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah.
And this is pretty much dive, and then you've got these underwater paths where obviously you'll have some kind of scuba gear, and then you can catch water types. There's a lot of water types, so they're not going to run out, but I do fear for the balance of the gen in terms of typing, I guess.
Yeah.
There is that. But yeah, I don't know. I think the main thing I'm also noticing about the environment is that we saw this one big resort-looking place, and there's no signs of any other towns. And obviously we'll get some towns, but like, this seems to be a lot less of a developed region compared to the others, where it's like, oh, do this go through this short amount of woods, and then you're back in another town. This feels very less built up, which could make for an interesting sort of game dynamic.
Look, Kai, we just had an entire game set entirely in one city. Now we have a game with absolutely 0 cities. You don't get an in-between, one extreme or the other.
That's very true, actually. It will be refreshing in that sense. And I mean, I'm curious. Would you? I know you're not probably going to pick this up, but would you choose Pokemon Winds or Waves?
I don't know. I guess it would partly depend on like what the differences are. You know, often there's like a legendary difference or whatever.
Yeah.
But just going by the name, I'm kind of feeling Winds actually. I don't know.
Okay, because I
gut instinct.
That's very true. I have a theme with picking these games, like whether I buy them or not, where I always, and this is true I think in every single generation, I've always preferred the first game rather than the second. You know, Pokemon Black, Pokemon X, Sun, Ultra Sun, I didn't even alternate on those two, Scarlet, Sword, like I've always, and it's not even me trying to fill the theme, I've always just preferred the first one over the second, and that would be Winds in this case. I don't know why it happens every single time.
Life finds a way. I guess that makes it relevant though. Because I know, like, again, I've never really been a Pokemon fan. I've barely dabbled. You have been, but you've fallen off a lot in recent years. Does this make you think you might get back to it in any way? Is there any chance you might pick this up, or is it just?
I think there's potential. It's unlikely, if I'm being honest, but there's more potential than anything else they've announced since Gen 9. I would like, I was very hyped for Legends ZA for a while, and then they showed it off, and I was like, this looks terrible. I'm not interested. And that's still the case. This is the most likely thing to get me back into it since I stopped, which is a testament. But I will start. I would still say less than 50%.
Yeah, it's unlikely for me, but at the same time, like the last like several Pokemon games I've all like considered getting a lot of them. I think Legends Arceus in particular, I definitely thought about getting that one. Scarlet and Violet, it crossed my mind. And like, if this had released like right now, when I'm in this like gaming drought with nothing to, well, you know, I've got backlog to play, but you know, nothing new to play, I might have considered it. But that depends. In 2027, if it releases like, I don't know, a few weeks after a new Xenoblade game or Zelda thing or something, then it doesn't stand a chance. So, but it definitely looks like they're taking the right steps, and it looks like it might be good. So I will have my eye on it, but Pokemon's never going to be a priority for me. But they haven't turned me off, and that's a start.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a whole year of announcements to give updates on the game, I guess, now. So
Yeah.
we'll keep an eye out, and we'll probably still mention them when they're significant, I'd expect.
Oh yeah. Anything big we'll cover into. Of course, I'm sure it'll pop up in like future directs, which we'll be reacting to and whatnot. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Pokemon, yeah, nothing surprising, but I thought that was a pretty solid showcase, all things considered. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was good. I think, yeah, like the big one plus Scale of Darkness, I think that was a good combo.
yeah. I guess is there anything you would have wanted to see, any like spin-off you wanted to come back or anything? But
I'm eternally missing the abandoned mobile game Pokemon Duel, because that's like one of those niche games that even Pokemon fans haven't heard of, and I think it's great. But they're never bringing it back, so no, there was nothing else I was looking for.
well then, that will end all things here. Let's move on to our final segment of the podcast, Games Time, baby, where we talk about the games we've been playing. And I'll start things off here because I've got two. I'm at a problem, Kai, because I keep finishing small games quickly on stream, which means now I have like 5 games to talk about here. It's chaos, but I'm gonna shorten it for now. We'll save some. And let's start things off with Batman Arkham Asylum, which is the first game in the Arkham series. And I played City before the second one, like, way back on the Wii U, but this is my first time playing the original. And what I'll say is, I had a good time. You can definitely tell this is a 2009 game. Like, it feels early in this formula, because a lot of, like, the modern Spider-Man games, for example, take a lot from, like, the Batman Arkham series, in terms of, like, the sort of the gameplay with pressing the timing your buttons to do counters, and rooms where enemies you have to sort of, like, stealthily pick them off one by one. Like, it's got a lot of those features in here, and this is sort of where a lot of that begun, I would say, or at least it's sort of in its current form. But also it's quite basic compared to what we see now. That definitely shows. There's an inherent level of jank to it. There's some weird stuff where, like, you get this, like, takedown move where you can, like, hang down from a gargoyle and do, like, a stealth takedown. Except when you do it, the person calls out and everyone spots where you are. So it's completely useless. It's like, the whole point of those sort of setups where you have to take them down using a very specific way is that you're rewarded for it by taking them down quietly. But no, here it's just useless. So there are definitely growing pains to it. You can sort of forgive them because it's like the first one in the series. So it's still perfectly playable. You just sort of have to adjust to it being a bit basic by today's standards. And all things considered, you know, it's just a fun Batman story. You know, it's got that sort of dark, gritty feel to it, going through Arkham Asylum that's been taken over by the Joker. You got like the classic Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy voices there, which is cool, even if the story's pretty basic and some of the lines are like badly written. It's again definitely an early game here, but it's still fun to see sort of all these characters, you know, going up against them. You can a lot of neat collectibles to find. It's kind of like a 3D Metroidvania in that you get upgrades and you can go back to previous areas and find stuff. And I ended up actually getting 100% of all like the hidden collectibles, and it kind of rewards you with like lore about like other villains who aren't in the game, or patient interviews with some of the villains that are there, and all sorts of like lore about the facility. So it gives you like neat rewards for going for it, and it's not too tricky or obnoxious to find everything either. And yeah, I ended it. Good Batman game. I'm curious because I've played City before, but I remember that one feeling a lot more modern. But that might just be because it was like a decade ago that I played it at this point. In fact, it was like 15 years ago or something. Holy shit.
I mean, 2009 you said. I mean, that's like a peak gaming era. That PS3, I guess? Xbox 360?
PS3, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good time for things. So there is a very much old jank that's kind of charming from games around that time.
There is, yeah. So, like, does it hold up 100%? No, but I think it's still a good game to sort of see where things got started. And I know I'll get to City eventually, but I know that one steps up things in terms of having like a big open world to glide around and that. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting to that one later in the year. But this was fun to sort of go back to a different style of game than my usual visual novel binge.
Yeah, fair enough. A little bit action-based now.
Yeah, mix it up every now and then.
Back to visual novel purgatory you go.
You are 100% right. I'm like 30 hours into Zero Escape, but we'll get to that next month.
Okay.
What have you been playing, Kai?
Well, I've been playing a behemoth of a game that I started on Christmas, actually, but I'm pretty much counting it as a game for this year. And that is that I've now 100%ed Octopath Zero.
Yes.
So this is one that was announced last year, and it dropped, and I didn't really see anyone talking about it. I think myself and many other people forgot that it was even a thing, or it came out, because it dropped in like early December. But I was just about to start replaying Triangle Strategy, and I was like, well, hey, I just remembered there's this whole new game. I may as well try it. So I just bought it outright, because why not?
Yeah.
And the sort of layout that we got from the early trailers and things was that it's based on the mobile game, and there's a town builder. And both of those things are true, but they should not be used to diminish this game at all, because I came out of it, like, I'll just say it now, I still need time to reflect, but it might be better than Octopath 2. It might be the best game in the series. And that's saying a lot, considering I consider Octopath 2 a 10 out of 10 RPG. So the fact that I think it might be better than that is a good sign. So to break down how a lot of the game works is you do have this town builder thing up front. That's kind of your premise to the game, so I don't really consider it a spoiler. Is like, basically this game's a lot darker. Your entire village burns down in the prologue. And your like quest that you have across the first half of the game is to rebuild it alongside your other quests. You can recruit certain people that advances the story there. It's very much its own self-enclosed story of finding the survivors and rebuilding it from scratch. And you get a lot of creativity in what you can do. They kind of give you your preset land, but there's tons and tons and tons of decorations you can put out. There's lots of residents from towns you can recruit. It's kind of, like, it's like how you have Colony 6 and stuff like that in Xenoblade 1. Which is really neat. So you can recruit lots of people where you'll just have to like give them something most of the time. And you can bring them in, which is nice, and they'll have their own little dialogue and passive effects. There's lots of different styles of houses that you can get based on the different cities that you take part, you go to in the game. So the town builder's nice. I will say I sucked at it. Like, I'm really bad at town builders and these kind of games. My Animal Crossing Island is ugly, and this town ended up ugly as well as a result. I very much built it for like gameplay purpose rather than story. So it's ugly, but it's there. So that's a fun little part of the game. But to be honest, that's only 10% of the game or less. The majority is the fact that this is another Octopath game. Except it kind of isn't. Because the main staple of an Octopath game is you have these 8 playable characters with their own stories that you go through separately, that are, kind of short in places or whatever, but you build up to them, and then there's like occasionally a big thing that links it all at the end of the game, and that's it. And that's your Octopath game, is these 8 travelers. This game doesn't do that. You have a lot more than that. I won't say how many exactly, but you have many, many more characters. That still have these 8 classes, but they'll often double or triple up. And you can recruit them all across the game. You get them very frequently. And you can't customize them as much. You can't like job switch people. They're very much set in what they're able to do. But you've got so many of them that it's kind of okay. Like you're not limited in terms of what you can do gameplay wise. And getting all these people is very secondary to the plot. As for the story, again, rather than these 8 routes, you get 3 routes that you follow, and then they reconvene. And those routes are basically, like, the theme of the game is different desires and ways to influence people, being power, wealth, and fame. As like, you can influence people by hitting them, paying them, or being so popular that they are enamored. And also religion falls into the fame branch as well. And they have 3 stories that are kind of based on this. And I will say again, they're pretty dark compared to the rest of the series. Like, they do some things where it's like, oh my god. There's especially something really late on that I won't even explicitly go into here, but like, it's really dark. But then these stories eventually do reconvene into one main storyline, which again, Octopath doesn't really tend to do until the very end. So to have these storylines that are like way more focused on specific characters and storylines that they can then develop more, is to its benefit. You know, it's more like a traditional RPG in that sense, where you're just following the main plot. And as a result, the story's really good. It has some interesting twists and interesting things it does. I guess for context on people who have played the series, it very much builds on the world of the first game, where rather than, you know, dealing with the comparatively smaller issues of the 8 travelers from that game, where, you know, it'd be like Tressa wants to explore the world and, you know, someone else wants to just like visit lots of places. This game is very much dealing with like the gods and the origin of the world and that kind of level of stuff. Like it's very much like it encapsulates the whole world, and it's like, here's everything you might have want to know about this. So the story's really good. And I will say, in terms of the mobile side of things, yes, most of this and a lot of the characters appeared in the mobile game, which was like a gacha game, but basically this story is an expanded out version of that. So definitely don't look at that game if you don't want spoilers.
Right.
But yeah, this is very much based on that, but expanded out massively into the first game's world. I never played Octopath 1, so a lot of it was fresh to me. So I don't know all of the differences, but there's definitely a lot of similarities. You know, some towns are the same, some towns are different. And yeah, like I say, overall, it's just a really solid game. These games are the reason I don't play things like Pokemon, because the RPG style of having all of your followers just makes the gameplay way more interesting. It's way more challenging and in-depth. The other unique perk of this game is that you have 8 people in combat rather than 4. You have like a front row and a back row, where only the front row can be hit most of the time, and the back row recovers. So it basically doubles the amount of like cool moves that you can build up, which is really neat as well. Obviously the music's good. I'd say arguably it's maybe the weakest in the series, just because it reuses a lot of tracks, but none of the music's bad. It just reuses lots. And yeah, and like I say, especially the back half of the game, you know, the first half I was like, oh, it's okay, it's not as good as Octopath 2. The second half of the game was where I was strongly questioning that, because it gets really interesting. They introduce some stuff late on that's fascinating to me, even as someone who wasn't invested in Octopath 1's world originally. It does some really, really incredible stuff. So like, for me, I've already played Hollow Knight this year. I talked about that last month, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, man, I'm already having a tough time deciding my game of the year, because it might be this at this rate. It depends on what comes out. Nice. You know, we'll see what I play and what happens, but like, this is on that level. It's really, really good, and I would recommend it. I still think anyone who hasn't played an Octopath game but is getting into them, I would still say play Octopath 2, because that's very much like traditional to what the series does. But for anyone who's played Octopath 2, I absolutely give this a go. It's very, very solid as a game, and it just does everything well.
I'm like surprised to hear that, because I think like they undersold it. It feels like, because
they
looked
did.
Like, it's the mobile game, but it's on thing, and I understood that it was expanded to be like a proper full game and that. So I thought like, this will be good if you like Octopath. This is probably like a neat little thing to keep you going until the next one. I didn't expect you to think it was like on par, if not better than 2, which I still haven't played, but I keep meaning to play. So yeah, if I some point get to 2, which hey, maybe I will sooner rather than later if there are no games coming out right now, like, maybe I will look at getting this one afterwards. You know, that's high praise.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's really good. The story is so strong that it does carry a lot of that as well. And like, yeah, at the end of the day, it is basically just more Octopath with more stuff being done. But yeah, the way that they've done it all, it's a very satisfying game. You don't come away from it being like, okay, I've done that, whatever, let's move on. It's a solid one. So and I will also mention, just for the record, that I 100%ed it. I beat the super boss. So that's all good. It's you know, the game, I will say, difficulty wise, I think it's much easier. Having a back row is a massive boon, and the other part I didn't even mention is you have a main protagonist you can customize. You give them a look and a name. That's probably one of the biggest detriments in the game, because like you play as your main character as the link through everything. Your main character is silent. No one says their name, so it's really awkward. People call them the Chosen One, which every time I was like,
well, I need to play this game.
You're like the only person in the world who gets their name spoken in this game. No one else does. And just the silent protagonist, there's occasionally very cool things where like them being silent is kind of a cool thing, like Red from Pokemon. But most of the time it's kind of like it's whatever. They don't need to be there. So that's probably the weakest part though. But like I say, the game overall is just it's good Octopath. Team Asano has done it once again, and I look forward to Millennium Tales next year. Or this year,
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, that one's going to be good, coming out June, I believe. I guess I'll switch things over here from a game that slipped severely under the radar to one of the most lauded games of the most lauded game of last year. Let's talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Shockingly, it's pretty good.
Yeah, believe it or not.
I said it at the time. I was like, okay, it probably shouldn't be winning all these awards and that, but at the same time, I'm sure it deserves them. And like, yeah, it does. It's fantastic. Like, it is really good. So I guess like it's got, first of all, like really cool like sort of setting and world. It's around like this sort of fictional place called France. It's kind of crazy, but it makes for a cool backdrop to everything. You kind of got, I really won't go into any like specifics here, but you sort of got this almost Xenoblade 3 like world where like there's stretching out of like fragmented, I would say. There's like a beautiful, almost like painting like look to the aesthetic. You got like these sort of watery reefs and like big battlefields and all sorts of different environments that all look beautiful and are great to explore. And you're part of this expedition who wants to fight this enemy called the Paintress, and just the entire journey you go through with your characters is so great. There's incredible performances. There's so many like great moments and plot twists and key elements. I feel like the world building is really interesting, where it never explains anything to you, but kind of relies on you to just figure it out through context. I'd say that's
cool.
It's almost like, I guess, like, say if Xenoblade 3 started, you know how that game starts with Noah doing his narration of, this is the world of Ionios, and we each have 10 years to live, and it's like, instead of that, and I think that works with Xenoblade 3, so that's not a criticism on that, but in this case, instead of that, it's as if you went into Xenoblade 3, and just through talking to people, you sort of realise, wait, what's a term? Oh, we each have 10 of those. Oh, wait, and you gradually piece together through talking to people that you start at this age and whatever. And
I really like that form of storytelling. I would say I'm a big fan of it.
It's not like subtle, like it's clear like what the things are. You just need to pay attention to it. But it is very much a show not tell kind of game. And even there's like big bits of lore that you'll only learn if you find bits of information that expand sort of the world in different ways. So you are rewarded for finding the hidden journals of previous expeditioners and stuff. It's very neat, and like the game pays off. It's like the ending and that is fantastic. It's definitely one that keeps you engaged the entire time, with a great balance of like emotional moments and giving these characters these arcs, whilst also having just like great camaraderie and banter between the team. There's some really good comedy in there. I mean, you got Ben Starr in there, and having heard him for several hours in his D&D campaign I've been watching, like, he can do comedy as well as the serious moments. But it's such a great cast. It's really fantastic. And then the music as well, like, there's only so much I can say, but several bangers. Oliver used one of them in our D&D campaign last night. Like, yeah, it hit. But the gameplay, in terms of the gameplay, it's very interesting where people have compared it to Paper Mario, of all things, where it's a turn-based RPG where it focuses on timings, so you can dodge or parry attacks, as well as doing button presses when you do attacks to make them do more damage or have extra hits. When it comes to like the button presses for doing attacks, they're all pretty easy. It's just a term of paying attention and you'll be fine. It just keeps you engaged a bit more. But the whole parry system is like fantastic, where you can beat fights you really shouldn't just by getting down that parry timing. But of course, if you mess it up, you know, dodging's safer. Dodging has a bit more time to do it. So it's very much a risk-reward system, where do you go for the dodge just to play it safer, or do you think you've got the timing down, you've seen the attack enough times, that you can try and parry it? And I should preface this that if it's a multi-hit attack, you have to parry every hit to pull off the parry. So, doing that, pulling off like a 10-hit parry, is satisfying as shit. Like, it feels great. Going for an enemy that can kill you in one hit, that you probably shouldn't be fighting, but learning that timing and pulling it off, it feels so good. But at the same time, you never have to, you know. You can play it safe and play it simpler. But that combined with just a really great RPG mechanic of several playable characters, each with their own unique moves, that completely unique playstyles, you know, whereas one focuses on putting on debuffs on the enemies, one focuses on like building up a gauge. You can mix and match depending on your playstyle, and they all have different skills you can equip from a skill tree, as well as the fact you essentially have Paper Mario's badge system, where you can equip different abilities to you and different buffs depending on how you want to play it out. And once you've used them enough times, you can learn them to equip on any character using a certain amount of points as well. So customization is the key here. You really have so many ways you can go about playing the game. It's one of the most satisfying RPG systems I've seen in recent memory. Like, it is very good, and it's a joy throughout. Like, there's challenge in there, but it's also, if you play it safe, there are ways you can do it without it being too obnoxious either. So it really strikes that balance right. And I've kind of gone over everything now. Like, yeah, music, visuals, story, gameplay, it just knocks it out of the park in all of them, you know? So there's a reason it was so lauded. There's a reason it's on most people's backlogs who haven't played it. I know it's on yours, Kai. So
yes, I plan on playing it probably the first half of this year, I would say.
You will love it.
Yeah. And like, I guess the other thing is, like, one of the reasons it's maybe so approachable is, you said that the game's not massively long, right? It's like 30 hours, which for RPG standards isn't long at all.
I didn't do 100%. I kind of intend to go back and do extra bits, but I did a lot of extra side content. I did like extra stuff that got you these bonus sort of story bits around the campfire you can get with your characters, which are nice to flesh out. So, and that took me like 35-40 hours. So it's definitely nice and breezy by RPG standards.
Yes, the Octopath took me like 120 or 130. Like, even Torna, if you play all of Torna, that's probably the same length as Clair Obscur. But that's what makes it so approachable. You know, not every RPG has to be 100 hours long. Exactly.
And like, the only like criticisms I can give is, one, I do feel like there are some moments where it doesn't give you enough information, and I think it's trying to be ambient, but I think it would actually pay off, specifically in regards to not having maps for areas you go to, and there are like hidden collectibles and stuff. So you can navigate fine, you know, to get through. It's not too bad. But if you're a 100% person, I don't know how to approach that. Especially, also a factor in this is that enemies don't have levels, so you just have to sort of play it by ear and figure out. There are certain areas that you can go to that say danger, like that imply to you, hey, maybe this is a risk going here. But like, I would like to like go in there, see like, oh, they're level 40 and I'm level 30. I'll come back here in 10 levels. No, you just have to guess when you want to go there and do it, because it doesn't give you levels, and I'd rather it have that information. At the very least, like, there's no punishment for death. If you lose a fight, you can just redo that fight from the beginning. Like, and if you don't, save points are regular. You just return to a save point. So you're never punished for trying something. So it's not too bad. But for again, it all comes down to 100% completion. For the sake of that, I would like levels. I would like maps. I would like the ability to like say, okay, there are 4 collectibles you're missing in this area, but I don't have any clue. So I really don't have any idea how I'm going to approach 100% if I do plan to do that, which is kind of why I ended up moving on to something else. So that's, again, it's the only really problem that comes down to 100%, but that is a thing, I guess, worth noting. And the other thing is, despite all the praises I piled upon it, which I meant, it didn't hit me. I wouldn't call this like an instant all-timer. It's an instant fantastic game, but I talked a bit last in our Game of the Year discussion about sometimes you get that game that just leaves you with that this was special feeling. You know, even a game with many problems to it like Nier Replicant gave me that impact, right? I thought about it for days afterwards. Or Hollow Knight Silksong gave me that. Xenoblade games, all except X, they all give me that. But this didn't. And it's nothing it did wrong. It's nothing the game is lacking. But for me personally, it doesn't hit on that amount where I'm like, you know, instant top 10 games of all time. But at the same time, does it have to be? It's still like a solid 9 out of 10 at the minimum. So that's barely criticism. It's just acknowledging where it falls for me, personally. But I think for a lot of people, this is an all-timer. So, yeah.
I think it's a fascinating one for the public eye because, like, you know, the last couple of years, very much these big Game of the Year type things have focused on open world or you know, storytelling games. Specifically, like RPGs haven't gotten a whole lot of focus. Even like platformers are being hit with Astrobot. So I just find it interesting that they decided RPGs should get all the praise this time, and they locked on to Clair Obscur. So I mean, not to diminish the quality of the game, of course. But it's just interesting how it's like, yeah, this, you know, RPGs got their time, and this was the game they landed on. So it's fascinating. I'll see.
RPGs are like, of course, they're very popular among. I'd say they're like probably like the best genre for both of us in terms of like some of our favorite games are often RPGs.
Oh yeah,
I think easily. A lot of Nintendo YouTubers fall into that category as well. But in terms of mainstream, it's, you know, it doesn't hit as popular, and this is the first time that an RPG has got that level of mainstream, probably since Persona 5, I would argue. So it's cool to see.
That's fair.
It's cool to see that, and hopefully that, you know, brings more people into RPGs, especially like a very traditional turn-based RPG, which this, I guess, is not traditional with like the parry system and that, but at its core it is an RPG where you take turns, you know. So it's cool to see that get attention.
Even Final Fantasy changed up to be more approachable to people by making it dynamic. So having an RPG proper here is pretty cool.
It's definitely there's a reason it was so praised, and like, again, I'm sure I'll be hearing you say basically the same things back to me in the matter of months. But yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, cool.
And that does bring us to the end. Here we go, a nice lengthy one. A lot of stuff to cover. But we'll end it here for now. Of course, we will be back next month here on BunchaJokahs on YouTube, or audio-only versions of podcasts on Spotify. We do our regular podcast like this the first Sunday of each month. But in between, we'll do extra videos, discussions, gameplay stuff, reactions to any big directs. You can find that all on the BunchaJokahs, wherever you prefer to find it. Kai, where else can people find you at, though?
Twitch.tv/Fascurreyn. I am in Inazuma Purgatory. Probably not for much longer, but I am in Purgatory still.
This could be the last month, we will see. But it's certainly a roller coaster watching the story happen. So
we'll get to that.
You'll be hearing more on that later, that's for sure. And for myself, twitch.tv/TheChosenOneLegend. I've just finished up some stuff, so I'm on a little bit of a hiatus, but I'll be back with some game shows and maybe some Lego games in the near future. And of course, there'll be a link to our friend Samm, who made our channel logo and a lot of our past thumbnails. Thank you once again, Samm. That's it. We'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.